Today I want to talk about privacy and TED. TED is my good friend, and TED is T-E-D-D. So privacy is critically important to me. My name is Jason Hanson. I'm a former CIA officer. Because of what I do for a living, I'm helping people stay safe. I'm training people on firearms. I get a lot of nut jobs in this world. I get a couple death threats a year. So I want to make sure nobody knows where I live. I want to make sure I'm not being followed when I'm coming home from my office. I'll talk about all types of stuff I do to protect my privacy. Offline, I'll talk about online. Let's talk about online privacy. I'm going to tell you a few of the things that I do. First, obviously, whether we like it or not, we live in a digital age where our personal information is always being shared without our consent. And of course, every time you fill out a form, you update your social media, you're giving your information to data brokers. And a lot of people don't know this, but of course, the data brokers are corporations that collect a tremendous amount of money and information about you. And they collect that information, as I just said, because they're getting money for it. So your profile, it includes things like your social security number, your birthdays, your past addresses, your recent addresses, and every purchase you've made. So the data brokers build these profiles on people, and it's so they can sell this information and make a boatload of money. Your data is in bits and pieces, so anything on its own, separate, not that huge, but they compile these complete data profiles on you and your buying habits. Whether you shop at Walmart, whether you shop at Target, they are very valuable to marketers, employers, landlords, banks, and others. So one of the easiest ways to see just how much your info is out there is to simply Google yourself. Definitely do that. You'll probably see a list that includes your full name, maybe addresses, emails you've used, your social media accounts, and even like family members, who you're related to. So I don't know about you, but I've got 6 kids, I've got a wife. Privacy is critically important to me. So like I said earlier, the last thing I want is for some weirdo online to be able to show up at my house to have all my information. That's why when you Google me, you'll find surface level information that is out there. Obviously, I want people to know about the business I do. I want them to know about the training I do, but I don't want them to know where I live. I don't want them to actually be able to find me. So it's funny, when I was Googling myself, it even labeled me as a YouTuber. And that's pretty funny. I mean, I love YouTube, I love shooting these videos, but I have several other safety and security businesses that I do, but Google thinks that YouTuber is the best way to describe me, which is fine with me. How do I make my online information the way I want it? How do I control what's out there? How do I make sure that I don't want the data brokers stealing stuff I don't want them to have? Well, one of the ways I achieve this is by partnering with a company called DeleteMe. DeleteMe specializes in removing your personal information from data broker websites and search engine results, making sure that your online presence is private and secure and is the way you want it. So by eliminating this information, they prevent it from falling into the wrong hands, they prevent it from being used for malicious purposes, and they prevent some weirdo from showing up on your doorstep. So they actively monitor and repeat the removal process as needed, keeping your information protected. So it's not a one-time thing, because new data is, of course, popping up all the time and can surface over time. So I personally rely on DeleteMe to safeguard my family's privacy online, and it gives me a great peace of mind. I no longer have to worry about my personal information being readily available and things that I don't want being shared with any wacko that has an internet connection. So if you want to get the same level of privacy and protection for you and your family, if you want to take control of your online privacy, I highly recommend DeleteMe. I've tried deleting all my information by myself, but it's a big pain in the butt. I run multiple companies. I have 6 kids, so I'd much rather have somebody do it like DeleteMe instead of me wasting all my time. Since I'm a user of their service, they have graciously sponsored this video for you so that you can take action too. So if you want to get your personal information removed from search results on the web, you can click on the link below or just go to joindeleteme.com/Hanson. Again, joindeleteme.com/Hanson. They are offering 20% off their privacy plans to all of my viewers with the code Hanson, Hanson. So I hope this helps you, because protecting your privacy online, as I said, is super critical. Some of the other things I do to protect my online privacy are I use a VPN, a virtual private network. That way when I'm in a hotel room and on an airplane, I don't have to get worried about getting hacked. Of course, I don't click on any emails that I don't know. I'm not clicking a link. And when my Nigerian uncle emails me for my $50 million he needs me to collect, I leave those emails alone. Also, one last thing that I highly recommend, is critically important, is put a credit freeze on your credit reports. I've had this for over 20 years now, so back in the day I had to actually mail stuff in, but put a credit freeze on your credit report. So it's Experian, Equifax, TransUnion. They freeze your credit, that way somebody can't go buy a car and take out a bank loan or take out a mortgage for a house. And once you freeze it, they give you a 10-digit PIN number. So if you need to buy something, you just call the PIN number and say, hey, unfreeze my credit report for the next 48 hours. That way you can have them run your credit before you buy a car, a house, or whatever. We're going to talk about TED because TEDD. TED stands for time, environment, distance, and demeanor. TED is more of an intelligence word. So let's talk about time. Obviously, in the intelligence world, you want to make sure you're not followed to a meeting. You want to make sure you're not followed to a house if you've just met with one of your assets, because then you could bring very bad men back to your house. You run a surveillance detection route. What does that mean? SDR for short, surveillance detection route. It means you never go straight to a meeting. It means you might go to Walmart, then you might go to Starbucks, then you might go to the gym, then you might pick up your dry cleaning, seeing if you're being followed. So if you see somebody at Walmart at 9:53, and then 10 minutes later, you see them at Starbucks, and then 10 minutes later, you see them at the gym, and then an hour later, you see them wherever you're going to pick up your dry cleaning, clearly you're being followed. So the time factor doesn't add up. Environment, again, where am I? What am I doing? Am I going to the gym and I see the same person at the gym, which of course happens all the time? If I am in Las Vegas and I see somebody, and then I go all the way up to Salt Lake City, Utah, and I happen to see that same person, that's a pretty big distance. It's not like I'm in Timbuktu, Alabama, in a small town of 500 people, where you're probably going to see the same person. It's not that uncommon. But if I'm in Las Vegas and I fly to New York City and I see that same person, probably something going on, because that is a severe distance. Of course, you got to pay attention to demeanor too. How are the person acting? How are they blending in? In the spy world, if you're following somebody, you're going to act 100% natural. You're going to never tip them off. Many moons ago, my wife was in Home Depot. She was walking around and she called me. She said, hey, I know somebody's following me. I said, how do you know? She said, I ran an SDR. The guy was not shopping as normal. He wasn't having normal human behavior. My wife was in lumber. She saw this creepy guy there. About 5 minutes later, she went all the way over to, let's say, washers and dryers, because I don't remember exactly where she went. 2 minutes later, this guy shows up in washer and dryers. Then she goes to the gardening section, and sure enough, 2 minutes later, the guy shows up in the gardening section. He doesn't have a shopping cart. He's not exhibiting the demeanor of a shopper. He's not asking for stuff. He's not pulling stuff off the shelf. He didn't blend in. He stuck out like a sore thumb. I was not there, so I couldn't go there. I told my wife to go tell a manager, have the manager walk her to the parking lot and run an SDR home, which she did. Never saw the guy again. So I don't know if the guy knew who she was or if it was just a random coincidence, but paying attention to her surroundings, paying attention to Ted, made sure that some guy didn't do horrible things to her in the parking lot. There have been many stories. One of the most, unfortunately, infamous ones is two criminals are at a grocery store. They see this woman with a huge wedding ring on her finger. They say, hey, she's probably got money. So they go and follow her around. They see which car she gets into. They get in their car. They follow her home. She lives in a mansion. They say, hey, we're going to do a home invasion because we know this woman's got money. We follow her to this big house. And they broke in and ended up killing her and her daughter. Horrible, horrible, horrible story. So protect your privacy. Make sure you don't bring bad people home. This is also why, where I live in Utah, I don't own my house in my own name. I own it in an LLC wrapped in a trust. So Jason Hanson does not own a house. You can not find my house on anything because, of course, property records are easy to look up, and I don't want people to come and find me. Very hilarious. Every once in a while when I say this, I'll get some like computer wizard nerd, and he'll send me an email, and he'll say,
ha ha ha, Jason, I thought you were so smart, but here's your address.
And I look at it, and it's an address in Cedar City, Utah, but of course I don't live there. And I don't respond to these guys, but I admit, I want to email them back and say, you're right, you found my home address. Go wait there. Wait for me to see me, because obviously I'm never going there. So definitely have a credit freeze. Definitely check out DeleteMe. Don't forget about TED, time, environment, distance, demeanor. That way you are not being followed home. You're not being followed places. So please make sure you pay attention to your surroundings. Take your online privacy seriously. Take your offline privacy seriously. And please subscribe also. I've got a lot more videos coming your way, so if you would subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. God bless you, God bless your family, and God bless the wonderful United States of America that we live in.